USA Archery Arizona. He's the president of Desert Sky Archers, and we all know him as tournament director many times over. And he's going to talk about, well, I think he's going to talk about coaches, parents, and archers, and the relationship between the three. Thank you.
Real quick, before I start, Bob wanted me to do a quick poll about how many people here would be interested in a one-day judges symposium. You would raise one hand. If it's you plus someone else, raise two hands. Somebody raise your hand if you're interested, that would be great. There you go, Bob. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Come on, you guys are serious? Really? Some of you guys already been to the seminar. Why would you want to go again?
They need to research.
Research.
Bob,
I can read yours.
Okay.
Are you talking about a certification class or overall judges symposium?
It's a seminar, just a standard, good old-fashioned seminar.
It's a good old-fashioned seminar. Who wants one? What?
Good old-fashioned seminar.
This is where you get certified. Yes, I'm certified. I'm just raising my hand.
Okay, that's a little more simple. Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Tell the members you would apply. They can be voluntold to take the seminar. Okay, guys. Coaches, parents, archers, and the relationship between the three. Mike and Rick have covered a lot of this extremely well, but I'm going to be about a half hour. It's not going to be that long. Just want to say cover some of the stuff. I'll just take you through it pretty quick. Communication is the key to successful relationship. It's a time commitment on a part of all three of you. Be very communicative of what you expect of them. And you want to find out what they expect of you.
Rick, do you want the camera on you or on the screen?
Screen. I have an excellent voice for radio.
Thank you.
How many of you run across the time when your student or your parent walks up to you and blindsides you with a question you thought they knew? Whose fault is that? Rest of us. Be very clear. Another big one, and I know DeSanto does it, we do it, the financial commitment. Right up front. Talk about how much the equipment costs, how much it belongs to be a member of the club, and if they want to go farther, how much it costs. Don't be afraid to give them the true totals. We are cheap compared to some of the other sports out there. Probably either yourselves have kids that play club baseball, softball, volleyball. There's some kids out there that shoot archery and also figure skate. We are a fraction of what those spend. Be quite upfront of the impact on school and other parts of life for the parent and the archer. The parent will miss days of work. They need to plan for it. And the child will miss days of school. And that's even just to shoot local tournaments. It's just a fact of life. You're front. State, you pretty much figure they're going to miss a couple of days of work, a couple of days of school every year. National tournaments, you get 2 weeks of vacation a year on your job, tell that parent, we just need them up. They're gone, all 14 weeks. The financial commitment, I said equipment. A lot of them don't understand that that first equipment purchase that they make, they think it's their last one. And we try to be very upfront with them, and please do. Literally, bring one of your experienced archers and say, yes, you can go start out with compound equipment for between $500 and $600. and say, he's holding 3 grand. And they look at you like you're nuts.
That's not tobacco.
Exactly. But if you don't tell them up front, this might be one of those families that you lose 6 months down the road. Because now they're disillusioned and they can't afford it. You're better off telling them up front. And if they cannot afford that financial commitment for the equipment, then they need to find another sport if they want to shoot at a high level. To be clear, they don't have to. Okay? Desert Sky, we actually have a very large spreadsheet that we send out that lists every one of our members in every one of the tournaments across the country that they can attend. And we, on that spreadsheet, we tell them whether or not we feel they should attend that tournament. The coaches discuss it, and we put it down and we send it out. And we do it in 3 separate ways. If it's blank, we tell them that no. Could be because it's an adult tournament, it's a youth archer. Or we'll say yes, go, or we'll put an H for help. How many of you use your experienced archers as a coach to help your new archers? Send them to a tournament. Private lessons. We all get private lessons. Helps augment our costs for being a coach because it is definitely not a positive cash flow. Let your parents realize ahead of time that this is a possibility. Let them know what coaches can help offer the private lessons. Okay? What do you do if it's not working? Rick McKinney covered this quite well. Mike covered it a little bit too. Don't be afraid to recommend another coach or another club. I mean, we've all had kids that have gone back and forth between a couple of clubs until they found the club that fit for them. We want them to shoot the bow. You don't necessarily have to have them on that. Time commitment. How often do you attend club practice? Can they always attend? Who brings them? Is it realistic to have them want to win a state championship when they show up for practice once a month? Practice time. How much? How often? As I just said, does it expect the level of performance that they're expecting? You got to tell them. It doesn't match. Showing up one time a month is not going to get you a national record. Mike covered this, so did Rick. Travel. It takes time. Make sure it's included in their time. Nationals always brings rain. So if you cut it close, you're going to miss flights. Make sure you got the extra days, front end and back end. Okay? Even for state level tournaments, don't plan on leaving at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. State championship, we're going to run until the light runs out if you've got a race. Put that in your, maybe tell them, just, hey, plan all day Sunday, plan all day Saturday, plan a full week for the Nationals. Expectations of each other. Have them tell you, what do you want from me as your coach? Make sure it matches. If they expect free equipment, you laugh. I've had students say, well, what can you give me as equipment? You can loan them something. But make sure it's clear that you're not the bank. Okay? The role of a parent, and this one's a big one. How many of you have heard us say it's your job to feed the water at a tournament? It's true to a point. State championships, that's pretty good because we as coaches are there for the state championships and the other local shoots. But what if that archer travels to the Nationals? Or to Vegas? Or to a USAC? And one coach is going from the club and you have 5 archers. What's the role of the parent then? Tell them. Teach them. Make sure they know how to fletch an arrow. Make sure they know how to stick on a rest or fix a sight. What's the role of the archer? It's plain and simple. The role of the archer is to shoot the ball. They don't need to worry about, am I going to get to the range on time? They don't need to worry about, did my coach prepare me? You need to do everything you can do with the parent, together as a team, to make sure when that archer shows up on that line, all they care about is sticking that arrow in the middle of the bolt. Don't need to worry about being hungry. Don't need to worry about is my equipment going to break. No. It's the job of you and the parent in that relationship to make sure all those words, all those thoughts are gone. How many of you as parents, how many of you as coaches have archers and you're also a parent? Around about 50%. You're going to decide ahead of time at the tournament, you're going to be a coach, or you're going to be a parent. Think about that one. We'll cover that one with you. Finances. We go back on money here. We all wish we had it. We all love our kids to shoot X10s. And wheel whiz recurve bows with axle sights. It's not possible. Our parents would love to give their kids those. But you need to sit down with them, write down the finances, write down a budget with the parent. Be prepared. Upgrades, how much and when, tournament costs, travel costs, all this stuff, as I briefly covered before. Put it in writing. Send it to them. Get feedback from the parent. If the parent doesn't want to give you feedback, inform them at the next practice. Okay? This one goes from the very beginning. How many of you have coached a kid and mom or dad says, my child's going to shoot compound? You want to run a brand new compound ball, and as you're their coach, they secretly tell you, I wanted a recurve. Whose fault's that? It's you and the parent. Whoever you're supposed to help the archer. We remind the parents, the archer drives this, the commitment drives this. The parent doesn't want to spend $600 on a compound setup, and the kid doesn't want to shoot. The parent may want them to shoot compound bow. Maybe it's a hunting family. Maybe that's what dad used to shoot or mom used to shoot. It all falls back on the communication. Don't be afraid. Tell them. Also, we supply a list of what brands, sizes are out there, the various equipment, tools, quivers, all that stuff. This, as I said here, list is long and very confusing. Don't be afraid to sit down. You've got to take the time to talk to them. Make yourself available. Don't talk to just the archer if it's a teenager. 16, 17 years old, a lot of times the parents just all they know, they're old enough. You know what? 16, 17-year-old, they are old enough to understand. Are they old enough to write the check for $400 worth of X10 arrows? Explain why an X10 arrow is better than a jazz arrow. A lot of these new parents, arrows and arrows. Yes?
I would like to interject as shock.
Yes?
It's very hard for people from other clubs to come into the shop and say, I need a plunger. Okay, great. We'll sell you one. Which one? Oh, I don't know. Well, which rest is it going with? I don't know. It's very hard because we don't know their goals. We don't know your goals as their coach. So it's very important as coaches to be specific with their equipment when you're saying, go purchase this, so that they know exactly what you want them to get, so that we get them that particular equipment and not lead them in a different direction.
Exactly, because as a retail shop, you don't want to sell them something wrong and have it cost them money, and now you're arguing over, can they return it, can they return
Correct.
it? A real good tool for that is every one of your archers in their quiver or carrying on them should be a list of their equipment. Okay, so if they walk into Rhonda's shop or Kenny and Tony's shop or Randy's and say they need something, they say, well, this is what I'm trying to match. Okay, and again, that falls back on you as a coach explaining the differences. Okay, Mike.
For all the coaches here, it's important to develop a relationship with your shops. Whether whether it be a local shop, mail order, I don't care. You need to develop a relationship. You need to make sure that that parent has the right information to go into Rhonda's shop and say, this is what I need. This is what my coach has told me to get. All right? Because the simple fact is Rhonda's right. It's unfair to that shop owner to try and guess what you as a coach want. And what happens to them as a shop owner is not fair, because what happens is that they buy it there and they bring it back, and generally, not all the time, coaches go, oh, that shop sold you the wrong thing. And so when that happens, that archer now says, why did that shop sell me the wrong thing? And now they have a bad impression on that shop. It's not fair for that shop. Okay? So it's important. You guys are with AAC, all you guys are connected, but those of us who are not connected with the shop, figure out who you're going to get your equipment from and make sure that your archers get the right equipment so they don't have a bad impression of that shop who is just trying to do their job. All right, does that make sense?
Yeah, and also remember that when you go mail order, or you send them to Lancaster, is that truly supporting the shops in our area, so that later on, if everybody's continually ordering mail order on Lancaster, which serves a great purpose, who's going to fix or be there to get your equipment later, because everybody's going to mail order? Would you support
I mean, we'll try to do, the shops, and to be fair, Rhonda, shops can only carry so much stuff.
Correct.
And they can only do so much, and generally shops in general tend to be heavy on the bow hunting side. But there are many shops here, thank God, who are also just as knowledgeable on the target side.
And you can order stuff.
And they can order stuff. And every shop, quite frankly, can order from Lancaster and get you the same prices, to be honest with you.
Right.
They really can. So, if you want to keep the money in-house, they can do it. So, they have that ability.
It wouldn't hurt to, if you have a part that you were trying to explain to the parent, you're going to go to Rhonda or ABC to pick it up, or Archery Explorers, send them the link to the part in an email. Then they can just press the link and go, Rhonda, I did this. Okay? Then they know there's no problem. Okay? Again, it's communication, yes, Doc.
It's a simple phone call too for the coaches to call your local shops.
Yeah.
Talk to your shop owner, go on, send in my student, my archer, just pick up this part, and get these help.
And for the most part, all the shops here in the valley that I've dealt with pretty much have the ability and order it. Now, some of them may groan a little bit because, they know that it's going to be one of those things where it's going to take a long time to get. In the back of their mind, they're thinking, oh my God, this guy's going to be calling me every week or whatever. But you know what? Welcome to the world. That's what happens.
Equipment needs is for a coach. Make sure all of you have a bunch of equipment, because your parents are going to be coming to you in the beginning to fix their arrows. Bow setup tools. You can, as a coach, a press, device. As I mentioned, equipment for archers to borrow, try out different stabilizers, releases. Books, videos, camera equipment, scopes. It's not bad, because when you're talking to a parent about you're going to need these things, let them borrow them. I know it's a huge financial commitment as a coach, but in the long run, it will pay huge dividends for headaches, because that parent will then tell another parent, well, Coach Rick said to get this, and it worked out great. I tried it, let me borrow it, it worked out great. Okay? When their archer sees that the parent is confident, that's going to build confidence in archery. Impact on school life and how serious about archery they are. I'm going to edit this when I typed it. Like I said, we'll skip the first one. Say they will miss school. They will miss family functions. I've known archers to miss weddings. Not their own.
I don't know, I know a few archers that just might.
This is a big one. Their outlook might change one way or the other. Maybe they realize they do want to take it serious, and that's that little bell that kind of Rick was talking about. They're just kind of a recreational archer, a very good one, and they don't mind making these exceptions as you guide them through them. And the parents see that the archer likes this. Their outlook changes from archer's just a recreational sport to, okay, this is something serious. This is something I need to help and support the coach on. We're going to take it up to the next level. However, how many of you have teenagers? How many of you get frustrated because your teenager's holding a few $1,000s and they want to go hang out with their friends on a Friday night? How many of you want to have kids that want to skip practice so they can go on a date? Oh, wow. Just Tyler?
He is in college.
No, he's a senior.
He's
Senior.
Okay.
Okay.
Close enough.
But realize this as a coach and talk to the parents. The parents might get frustrated that they've got all the child's holding all this money. And they don't want to take archery serious for a while. We were all teenagers once, and it's a very hard time in life. And to be honest with you, it's probably the last real fun that they can look at other than maybe going to college, because let's face it, they get to be adults not long after that. It doesn't hurt to let them go be a teenager for a while. And if they truly love the sport, as a parent, you know they'll come back. And same as a coach. Support the parent, support the coach, remind them of that. How many of us have lost archers to other things in life when they get 14, 15, 16 years old? All of us have. We've had some phenomenal archers leave the club because they found other things. That's fine. Support them. Do your best to be a mentor, coach, and a friend so that person can take what they learned from you and what that family learned from you to make them a better unit and a better person later on in life. Okay? Be ready for the change. Talk to the archer and the parent. I use this word on purpose. Change has lots of connotations. All the way down to puberty. I mean, emotionally, mentally, physically, these kids change very quickly. And for girls, it can happen as young as 8, 9, 10 years old. For the boys, it's usually a little later. They can go from being sweet and loving and listening to coach to they hate your flippin' guts. Today.
This hour.
Exactly. You gotta stay strong and you gotta be there for them. Okay, guide them through that. Work with the parents. Sit down on occasion, and I'm sure all of you know, we sat down with the parents, and sometimes the parents, they're on wit's end. They just need to talk to you. Sit down, maybe come up with an idea to focus some of that confusion that young person's going through, and either guide them back to archery, maybe have them go to a big tournament, maybe have them skip one that might be causing a lot of pressure. Maybe take a month off to concentrate on school. Well, remember, we're a coach. We're a life coach. Okay? We all love archery, and that's what we want to teach them to do. But we're not just the archer's coach. We're the parents' coach. How many of you have coaches who turned to another coach and said, help? I'm more than just archery. What you mean? I mean, I've turned to Steve. I've turned to Mike. Hey, I need an idea here.
You know, on that same note, as coaches, not as parents, and you have a hard enough time being a parent, so those of you who are parents who coach your own son or daughter, might but the thing about it is, as coaches, it's important for us to develop relationships with our students. I have what I hope is good relationship with the archers that I coach. And sometimes to the point that they tell me things that they'll never tell their parents because they're afraid. And as a coach, that's part of your job. Is that we have to guide them to things that may not be really our job. We have to be careful as coaches not to become their parent. But you have to develop a relationship with your archer. And the reason why is that you've got to know when they're up, when they're down, when maybe it is time, like Greg said, to step back and maybe not shoot this tournament and everything, just to calm things down a little bit or what have you. Maybe they're having problems at home and they just need someone, they need a place to go and shoot. As a coach, you'll know that and you'll be able to handle it. As Rick said and I've said, this is, and the other Rick, McKinney, this is about life. And this is about, I can tell you this, when I was a volleyball coach, I still have students that were under, that I coached, and it's the greatest thing as a coach to have someone that you meet in the store that you coached, and they're now adults, come to you and say, hi coach, remember me? You were the best coach I ever had. It's powerful, and that's what we have. We literally control what happens, and that's what our job is to make them always remember us for the good reasons.
Tournaments. This is a big one. Are the parents ready? Can they make the distance, accuracy, physical endurance? How many of you have a parent that wanted their archer, and we'll say a cadet, because that's usually where the distance is getting pretty far, whether it's compound or recruit. Mom and dad wanted to go shoot a tournament, and you know for a fact the kid can't even get the arrow there. It's a pretty tough conversation, but you gotta have it. As Rick mentioned, Rick McKinney, even with the parent, it's the Oreo technique. Okay? Your kid's doing great. We're proud of it. But you know what? Not this tournament. Let's wait for a little more time. And then how about this one? Maybe it's an indoor one where it's 18 meters. Or maybe it's one that has a static shorter distance. We have no shortage of tournaments in this state. But be ready for that. Be ready for the archer the same way. Okay? Because a lot of times, how many of us have archers that eyes are bigger than their skill? It happens. Are they ready for what level of tournament? Let's say you do have an archer that's a bronze Olympian. We'll just pick that, because that's a pretty darn good archer, whether it's recurve or combat. But they've never shot anything outside of a local state shoot. Are they emotionally ready to go to the indoor nationals? Are the parents emotionally ready to take their kid to the indoor nationals? Especially as we know our parents. We all know parents that are hover parents. We all know parents that are 180 degrees opposite. Okay? If you feel they're not ready, tell them and coach them and say, hey, to get your family ready to go to that tournament, why don't we not go to this one? Before we go, we want to work on this, this, and this. Will they take it too serious? Will they not take it serious enough? How many of you have parents that go to Vegas? Because parents don't go to Vegas.
What's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing.
Las Vegas.
But be upfront with them and say, are you going to Vegas because you want to go stay at the South Point? Or do you want your child to shoot in the Vegas shoot? Do you want to go to the Outdoor Nationals or SoCal because you want to go to San Diego? Or do you want your archer to shoot in the tournament? Make sure their motivation is set in the right place, or it can be disastrous for the archer. Nothing hurts more than being a coach and watching a parent literally tell the archer, we need to hurry this along because I want to look at dinner. What does that tell the archer? We've all seen it. I mentioned earlier about the archer, the parent wanted to get to make their flight. Well, it was at the Outdoor Nationals for the team.
Oh, yeah. I was pissed.
And as a judge, I was floored. As a coach, I was horrified. What that child now learned was, my parent doesn't care. The other thing that the child learned was, my actions are more important than my fellow archer. Two horrible lessons learned. No coach there, because the coach couldn't be there, that's fine, but the coach failed to prep them and say, when you go to this tournament, like we're doing here, and say, don't make your flight too close to go home, and read the tournament rules. As a tournament director, I'll put that hat this hat on real quick. I don't know how many times I've been a tournament director, and I do that walk out, or an archer, golf archer, and say to me, and I'll use the summer sizzle as a perfect one, because I get the question every year. Well, are you going to pay for my arrow if it gets shot by another archer? I don't know how to say this. No. When you signed up for the tournament, it said you could be sharing a target face at 25 meters with another archer. Sorry. But again, as a coach, we need to teach the parent and the archer to read the rules.
Yeah, please do that, because I'm the tournament director for the Arizona Cup. And we have a huge document, the time of world ranking. And last year, or this year, and I kept all of them, they're gone now, but I did keep most of them. From the time that the website went up until the tournament started, I received and answered over 3,500 emails. Now, out of those 3,500 emails, 3,400 of them were answered by that 18-page document that all they had to do was read. And it answered it very clearly. So as coaches, either yourself or teach your parents to read the entry forms. It tells you everything. At least it should. And as someone who's running a tournament, if you're a tournament director, Rick, myself, anybody who's running a tournament, information better be on that sheet. Because if you don't, you're going to have 3,500 emails. You know, I mean, so it's got to be there. Make sure you have it.
And if you don't, I'll just say, if you don't see your answer on the form, we do want the question. And so the next time, that will be answered on the form.
It'll be 19 pages instead of 18.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. So, as a coach, as a parent, how do you balance, like what Kenny was saying, how do you balance not making sure that you're a crutch? And I'll give you a scenario. So, late last year, we said, hey, you want to try an archer? He's a bare bow shooter. As a parent, Ron said, hey, make sure you're going to do this, you're going to set rules. And it was a very valuable lesson for the kid, because even on the way there, wait, here's the rules, we're driving, we've read them, right?
barely hit 60 meters, but she wanted to spend her money, travel to Texas, and she could Texas shoot at. All right? All right, I'll be honest with you. I told her right up front, and her mom and dad, that I would recommend it, but she wanted to go. So I had to talk. What's the expectation? She was going there for nothing but experience, nothing but. She knew that she was going to fall in the bottom of the thing. Mom and dad knew that they were going to cost a lot of money to fly there, hotel, and everything. As long as, in my opinion, as long as you have laid out the game plan, you've told them what it is, you've given them all the tools to make a reasonable decision, let them make that decision. If that decision from Lakewood, I'm going to shoot it no matter what, then he shoots it. And then when he comes and says, oh, I didn't know this was a 3 spot, you can at least step back and say, no, we gave you all the information, we gave you the tools. Now you need to shoot it. There you have the very lesson learned. Next time, we'll think again.
She shares a bigger. But it's a funny, that was fun. And he knows, and we hope we're going to stay a little closer, but it was kind of, where do you make sure that you say, hey, here's the rules to the parents, and deciding they're also making the right decision for the child and the parent.
You've got to be upfront. Okay? We all keep track of, I'm hoping all of you keep track of your archers' performances. I know as the clubs get larger, it's harder. As the clubs get larger, it's harder and harder to do that. That's where finding another parent can help you out, keep track of, like Rick said, scores. The scores are still a basic rule of football. And you can sit down with the parents and say, your archers should be 200s on an indoor 300 round. You really want to go to Chula Vista for the indoor nationals? I said, really, if you want to be close to the podium, it's going to be very hard for you. It's got to come. And sometimes it hurts, and they may get you mad. That's fine. Because if you actually say, oh yeah, you'll be fine, he'll shoot fine, or she'll shoot fine, and you don't, they're going to come back and be mad at you for a whole reason. Because you smell it in life. Another thing for big tournaments, first thing Steve and I do when they're going to a big tournament, at USAT or Nationals or whatever, first or Vegas, the first time they go, we tell them it's control. I don't care what you shoot. If you can shoot 0, I'll still be proud of you. And don't be surprised if that archer doesn't shoot about a 0. They're used to shooting with their friends. And let's face it, as adults and kids, we're friends with all these other archers. And now, there's some of their friends are there, but they're 10 lanes down. And they're shooting a whole other different group of people. And it's very comfortable. And again, as a coach, you have to communicate that with the parent. Jack, actually.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when it comes to the tournaments, like Rick McKinney said, you prepare for all the scenarios. So all the targets, whatever tournament we're going to shoot, we have the kids shoot, and when the barebow shooters and all the others are having to shoot all the targets. They see, here's what you're shooting at the tournament. And then you understand, you can shoot at 3 spots, barebow.
One of the things we dealt with 2 years ago with Travis, because Travis is much younger than most of the kids that were shooting, he wanted to shoot the USAC and base and that. I made him goal set and look at scores from the prior year, what won, to decide, are you even at that level to where you think you could be in the top, whatever. Because no, if you're not shooting these scores that are showed last year, you're not even close. So that might help, like, in that. What?
You're a good mom. I'm going to admit, the first time, when we just started in this sport, we were fairly new, there's 6 o'clock. We went to Vegas. It was very sobering. Our son, I think most of you know, Tyler was a really good kid, very outgoing. It was not a good lesson for us. Get the You did. Private lessons. How do you approach mom and dad? Are the parents ready? Are the kids ready? Do you approach them or let them approach you? You gotta get a feel for that family. Or if it's an adult archer, if you see they're struggling, it's a lot easier sometimes to deal with an adult. You just walk up to them and say, you know, I see you're struggling. There's 3 or 4 coaches that will give you some private lessons and first lessons. And that might go a long way in helping you out. With kids, sometimes it's hard. I think we all know families that have a large amount of disposable income. And we know families that, let's face it, they scrape every month to make it meet. That's all falls with you as a coach to look at. It does affect your fees. If you notice, I put this on here, there's 2 or 3 people in this room that earn their entire living by coaching. This might sound kind of stupid to put this up here, but it's the truth. Don't talk about the charge. We all know what each other charges. Don't. All it takes is one. Going to work. That's it. Just takes one. So, this comes to the next one. If they are paying, make sure they're getting their money's worth. The next one goes right in hands in line. Granted, we all want to earn a living. But do you really want to coach an archer who's there because mom and dad sent him to private lessons? So make sure it's worth your giving during that hour, 2 hours, whatever you're doing. That archer and that family gets 100% of your attention. 100%. It's hard when you're at a public range doing it. I know several of you coach at some of the public ranges or the pro shops with archer ranges. I turned to another archer and said to them, I cannot talk to you. You will have to wait until I give them the time. And sometimes they get upset. It's like, well, I can't work with you. I'm sorry. This person is paying me for this hour. They get my time. And you know what? It goes a long way with the archer you're coaching, and eventually the archer you're coaching will appreciate it also, that archer's. Because if they do take private lessons, they know that they're going to get 100% of your attention too. But what do you do if the archer is just flinging arrows down the range? Excuse me, from the light. Mom and dad are paying you X amount for the hour, and you know the kid doesn't care. What's your call? Okay. It is 100% your call. I have done both. I have forced the archer to finish the hour and then talk to the parent. And I have turned to the parent and said, you're done, where's my money? Because you blocked out that hour. Okay? It's not your fault. You're giving them 100% of your time. And a parent can't control their child. And we're not the parent in that aspect. So, but that's, again, how you handle that one is up to you, but you have to make sure every time that child does it, that you handle it the same way. Because if one week you let them get away with it, the next week you stop it, you're not going to know what to do. And to be honest with you, if they're going to be that way, I'd probably stop taking the family's money. Is it or isn't it working? Covered this a little bit at the very beginning. Are the 3 of you compatible? And this is kind of funny. This can be what the parent wants from the child is different than what the child wants. You're stuck in the middle. You don't get along politically, religiously. You don't get along personality-wise. Make the decision. Sit down, talk to the parents. We can find you another coach. It's not working. Nothing wrong with that. We've all had people in our lives that when they speak, just the sound of their voice is nails on the chalkboard. Why do you want to go through that? Here's a big one. And I'm going to give an example that actually happened with us. A parent under my school. They pay you. This is part of it, a hard time, but they're paying you, right? You're coaching the child, and you do something to the bow. Maybe the bow needs an adjustment that you're not happy with. And when you turn your back, the parent runs over with an Allen wrench, or flips, as mine just did, the site and flips it back. How many things have happened to you guys? Oh yeah. What do you do? Don't kill. Go back to the communication. You sit down, and you have to be very clear. Yeah, death is devastating. But you've got to make sure they understand that when you're there, you're in charge of the equipment and the archer. How about this? You're coaching, and you're working on something. Let's say your archer's struggling with the releasing. Something that we work on as coaches. We learn about archers every day. And the child was out in another range practicing, and the parent walks up and says, "So-and-so coach says you're teaching me wrong." You can sit down and have a fun conversation. And if the parent stays vehement about it, that falls back on, are you compelled? Because if they don't believe in your skills, move on. Here's a big one. Your archer has worked very hard. Are they ready for a better coach? And let me say more knowledgeable coach. We're all good coaches. But you've got an archer that you feel you've taken as far as you can. Okay? By that time, you have a very strong relationship to that archer and to that family, probably. There is absolutely nothing wrong with picking up the phone and calling out another coach and saying, "I've got an archer." That's not a sign of giving up. That is not a sign of, I'm in it for me. That is a sign of you're an awesome coach. You have developed this archer as far as you can take it. Right?
No, I agree. Rick's spot on with it. There's a different way of looking at it also. If you've developed a very good relationship with your archer, and you feel as a coach that at the moment you've taken them as far as you can take them, I will say this: there's nothing wrong with sitting down with mom and dad and the archer, explaining the situation and giving them the choice. You can either send them to another coach, or you can make the choice of learning together and increasing your skills as a coach while keeping that archer. Now, bottom line is this: that archer is going to learn, is going to advance far more slowly. But to be honest with you, some parents and some archers are okay with that. So there's a different way of looking at it. Me personally, I've sent many archers to Mel, Nichols, and a few other people just because I didn't feel my skill set was where it needed to be. But the other end of it is if you've got that good relationship and they feel comfortable with you, you can grow together as a coach, but that means that you have to make that commitment as a coach to get better. That's what's important.
This is when you feel good, you know you did it right. Rick mentioned that he looked forward every day to shooting his ball. When you're coaching an archer, whether it be a child or an adult, and they tell you that I could not wait all week to come to my lesson, to archery class. That's when you know not only you've done it right, but the parents have too. You've cultivated an athlete that truly enjoys the sport. You also know when the parents are praising their child. And let's face it, one of the best things to do as a parent is brag on your kid. We live for that experience. And as Mike mentioned earlier, having an ex-student walk up to you years later and say, "Hey, coach, how you doing?" They remember you. They still think of you. They still are using those skills that you gave them outside of archery or still inside the sport. You also know you did it right when you watch an archer stand on the top of a podium in the nationals, in a state level, or even their first tournament where they actually win. And you're proud of them. You may even cry. I watched coaches cry. I'm wrong, but you know you did it right. Thank you. Any questions? I know I ran a long one tonight. I'm a salesman for a living.
Thank you so much, Rick. Why don't we do one more drawing while Steve gets set up?